Meeting now come to order. School board, February 23rd. Mike, you want to call it?
Jason Seltner, Andy Croft, Linda Minor, Bob Smith, Michelle Lott, all present.
Join in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice, for all. Do we have any visitors today?
Yes, we do, but second and let me get the. Okay, with us tonight, we have Angela Carey, Sherry Epperson, Tom Clark, Bruce Gessler, Houston Gleason, John Stamen, sorry, Stephanie Hale.
Is it?
Yeah,
And Dr. Craig Huff.
Dr. Craig Huffer.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't do the sign.
All right. We need an executive session. We have a motion. Moved by Michelle, second by Bob. Any discussion? No discussion. Mike, don't call roll.
Smith.
Yes.
Lott. Croft. Weininger. Crawford. Motion carries.
Is that given, Mike? Any additions, deletions, changes to the agenda? I have one, Mike. Under superintendent's report, please take the issues claim out of there, make it a separate section, make it A1. The other additions, deletions, or correct or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll go to public participation. Is there any public participation?
Yes, we have 4 people who would like to address the board. First, we have Sherry Epperson.
Jason, can we use your wireless mic, please? We had to improvise tonight. Thank you.
Yep. Sure. State your name and your address.
Sherry Epperson, I live in Ohio. I
Yep.
have, I know,
All right.
I'm on it. I have everything written down for you guys. I don't expect any answers this evening from you. I have lots of questions from the public and a group of people that I associate with. We want to know what building and locations does the school actually use? What buildings that the school owns are not being used? What buildings does the school use for storage? What happened to the rainy day fund? If the new levy passes, will the property tax for the school district be collected still? If the levy passes, how long before Sidney schools will be meeting, asking for more money? Why are the teachers, custodians, cooks, teachers' aides always the first ones to get cut? There doesn't seem to be any other cuts. Like one of the first meetings I came to, maintenance was talking about being able to do some things for cuts. People aren't hearing that. How much money does our school, the Sidney school system, get for grants every year? We heard that the grant writer, which I know takes a lot of time, has been let go. Can you tell me or give me a list of positions that the school now has employed? No names, just like 4th grade teachers. How many 4th grade teachers do we have, and about what do they, an average make? So on down the list. Same way with administration. How many principals do we have? How many assistant principals? People hear all kinds of different rumors. I think it's about time you guys need to come forward with some of that information. Has anybody even started or even thought about going out and asking, why are we having so many students homeschooled? That was even before COVID. How many kids are being open enrolled to all these other schools? Houston. Yeah, I know there's a big bus that goes out to Menards every day and picks up a ton of kids, at least over almost a bus full. How many programs do we have in the Sidney school system example? Latchkey, busing, EMIS, work study. Do they each have a coordinator or a supervisor besides the people working at it? If people are retired, meaning they've already retired, say from Stoley's, I'm just using this as an example, and they have a part-time job, say at Sidney Transit, will that income that they make from Sidney Transit be also included in this taxable income that you guys want to pass? You can finish the rest. I do, and I made a copy for the president, vice president, and the superintendent. Also, I put my name on there and what time to call me, because somebody didn't realize that I work till 5 o'clock every day.
Email address work better for you, Mike?
Oops, here. There you go. Mike has my
Okay.
email address. It was somebody else. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up. Kristen, you have to give your name and your address,
Absolutely.
and you have 3 minutes.
Excuse me, sorry, I'm battling some bronchitis. Bear with me, I hope you all can hear me. My name is Chris Hughes, and I live on 4 Acre Avenue here in Sidney. I'm here tonight to address some concerns that I have about some inappropriate comments that were made on Superintendent Humble's Instagram account and his private communications with students. I have a confession to make. I had a much different speech written tonight, one that was full of righteous anger, fear, and proud. But as I sat last night praying about what I wanted to say to you, I realized that my anger and my fear were not helpful in affecting change. Sorry. And change is what I'm hoping to accomplish. So instead, I want to come to you all with simple truth and humility and ask you to help me make changes. For those of you who are unaware, the comments were publicly made on Superintendent Humble's Instagram that were grossly improper and sexual in nature. Superintendent Humble liked these comments on his public Instagram page. These interactions and others are in direct violation of School Board Policy 1613, subsections D, G, and H. That policy states, and I quote, administrators shall maintain a standard of care for the supervision, control, and protection of students commensurate with their assigned duties and responsibilities, and are expected to establish and maintain professional staff-student boundaries that are consistent with their legal, professional, and ethical duty of care of students. I don't believe that these standards are being met. We need transparency in all our communications between staff and students. We need oversight of these communications, public and private, and we need to limit any private messages between staff and students to forms of communication that can be monitored by a responsible third party. We need professionalism and professional boundaries, and we need staff that can conduct themselves in a manner that is above reproach. It is the business of this school system to educate our children. So let's get back to the business of educating. Let that be our main focus, not humor. Let keeping our kids safe and providing a safe space for them to learn be our priority. Our teachers and our staff deserve our highest respect, and they should conduct themselves in a manner that not only earns but demands that respect. To whom much is given, much is required. I believe that strong communities build strong schools. And I know that there are many of you out there tonight that love this community and this school system and want to see it succeed and to see our children succeed. So I'm asking this board and this community to make the necessary changes to see this school system and our students thrive. In order to do better, we must be better. Thank you. I'd like to end with a quote from Edmund Burke that says, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing.
Thank you, Kristen.
Next, we have Dr. Craig Hopper.
Mike, can I impose on you to, Mike, can I impose on you to hand out some of these handouts?
For whoever.
My name is Dr. Craig Hopper, and I'm a 307 South Main Street, Jackson Center, where I've been in practice for 37 years. I have 2 associate doctors in practice with me, Dr. Travis L. Saul and Dr. Jason Harwood, and with me 15 and 17 years respectively, and I've been contacted by a number of colleagues in the area to address an inappropriate false statement that was on December 31st in the City Daily News by Board President Bob Smith that says that a chiropractor doesn't qualify to have the ability to sign medical exemptions and or mask exemptions. And I'm just here to kind of clear that up and answer any questions. Certainly, I know as the past, I served on the board of directors for the Ohio State Chiropractic Association for 2 decades and was the president of the state association, representing 2,700 chiropractors in the state of Ohio. And I certainly understand there's misperceptions about the qualifications of chiropractors, and I'm here to clear those up on behalf of a number of a dozen colleagues and a couple dozen clients, patients that were that had contacted me. All that being said, there certainly is different perceptions. So what I did is I contacted the state. The second page shows that I contacted our state association executive director, who had counsel with our legal counsel at the state association, as well as contacted the governor's office, the Department of Health, as well as the chiropractic examiners to get clarification for your witness the fact that, yeah, actually we can sign mask exemptions, and we do. There's 3 physicians in the state of Ohio that can differential diagnose, and that's chiropractors, osteopaths, and medical doctors. So we are and we do write mask exemptions when necessary and appropriate. During this pandemic, there's been a lot of examinations about healthcare, where health really comes from, and listen to the experts, et cetera. And a lot of people have transitioned from the standard way of doing health, and I certainly understand, and we all have to admit, we're all products of our environment. However we were raised, most of us just continue to do that same way. But there's an educated form that understands that our healthcare system is going down the wrong path. So I share with you in the front of your handout 3 numbers, 37, 46, and 47. The United States, even though we spend more money and take more drugs than any other nation, we're ranked number 37 in healthcare system performance. We're ranked number 46 in life expectancy. We're ranked number 47 in infant mortality. Babies being born living to the age of 1. There's 46 other countries doing it better than us. Okay, so in the end, there's a lot of people looking for better ways than the way they were raised, and they're using chiropractic healthcare to enhance their immune system. I've also provided on page 3 the educational background of chiropractors versus MDs. And you see that we're more than qualified to differential diagnose and ascertain whether someone is better with or without a mask. And the final one is a reference of 110 references displaying how chiropractic enhances the immune system. So all that being said, if you have any questions concerning that, about the qualification of chiropractic, I'd be happy to answer.
And so I also believe the hope that I had
So thank you. You're welcome. 37 people didn't perceive it that way. 37 people said that you're making a statement that that's how it is in Ohio. And appreciate your time. If there's any questions to clear up any confusion, I'd be happy to answer anytime in the future. Use me as a reference. Thank you.
Okay, so lastly, we have Adam Kelly.
Adam, just state your name and your address, please.
Hello, my name is Adam Kelly. I went to school here. I'm from 1739 Fair Oaks Drive. I graduated in '87, went to school with you. And I just had some questions. First off, I don't have children. And I went to the Marine Corps to get my college degree. Do we still have shop classes, home ec, stuff like that here anymore or not?
We have training for 25. But the final program here.
Okay.
We do have manufacturing and construction.
My reason I'm asking this is I have kids in my neighborhood that I have to fix a lot of their stuff because their parents don't know how. They don't have clues. You know, I remember Mrs. Breinrich. I got a sewing machine, 52 years old, and I know how to run it better than any woman around probably. They don't know how to fix anything around here. My other question is some of the stuff that I see that people who are in high positions, principals, assistant principals, that go to purchasing, making $110,000+. Really? I'm in a union. I got a college degree. They don't pay me extra for that stuff. And I don't know, that's top heavy. You know, $100,000 for an athletic director, I might be 1 or 2,000 off on that. You know, that's $100 before your coffee gets cold in 2 hours in the morning. You know, and for the amount of days, that's stuff that need to be looked on. But then I feel sorry for your school bus drivers who got to go out here and drive this, and the cook that's making $15 to make sure that she can pass a health test or a health inspection. Another thing I was wanting to address is, where do I look up for wages? I have a hard time trying to research that. I dig and dig and dig on Google and Yahoo and all that for search engines. But, you know, $80,000 for a third grade teacher? I was like, you know, this ain't the same school that I remember. I learned a lot hands-on from my teachers back then. I think it's a lot. It's more scholastics anymore. It's like, we'll cancel school, but we'll have practices today. You know, it's like you get to play, but you don't have to work for it anymore. And I think the priorities just aren't there anymore. That's just sort of the way I feel. You know, I wish we get down to the bread and butter, the structure that we need. And I just see that, you know, they cancel school if they get a dusting. And I know there's a liability issues and stuff, but I feel for these teachers or these school bus drivers and the cooks, the custodians that are here all year long painting, where the other guy's making, you know, 6 figures, 100,000, and they got to work 200. You know, if I could find out where I could look for the wages and stuff like that, and academics and profiles, if we were a B-rated school, I'd say, hey, but we're not up there yet. So how can you keep wanting?
Adam, if you want information for the Freedom of Information Act, just email Mike Larkin,
Okay.
and he'll email back to anything you want to know.
I appreciate that very
Okay.
much.
Thank you
for your time.
Hey,
Thank you.
thank you for your service too, Adam. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
No, nobody else. I think that's you.
Well, I have on here a 5-year forecast. And the purpose of this is not to get into a lot of detail, but if we have a plan for reductions and so forth next year, we know what issue we have on the ballot in May. I wanted to get a quick update, what that looks like, and the impact of both of those. So you all have work if you read it, print it off, you're able to see it. I want to put that here also so that it can be seen by anybody who's watching our live stream. I want to start out with, this is an overview of all the changes that are going on here. And this looks a little different to some extent than what we talked about as far as we look in some cases for net. What's the net impact of something? But I want to show you what the real impact is in each of the areas of our income statement. So I broke it down just as you can see it on a 5-year forecast. The salaries, retirement benefits, purchase services, and supplies. Those are the primary areas that are being impacted. So just start at the top. Anything that's got the parentheses, that's a reduction in that expenditure line. So then salaries and benefits are going to be related as far as the items that are in it. So you're going to see duplicate labels in each of those. So start at the top for the administrative area. We're having reduction in salaries of 156,063 with the changes that we're making. You can then see them go down. So we'll go through them individually, and then you can see in the retirement benefits the impact on the health insurance costs, and then on all of the benefits. So, for example, there's 21,006 less in health insurance benefits and 22,358 less in all other benefits. In certified area, we'll be reducing salaries by 900,000. We'll have a corresponding reduction in health and other benefits. Under the aids, with the plan now, they are going to be to MRESC. The impact to our salary line is 977,000 less there. The corresponding reduction in health and the benefits. While I'm on this one, I'm going to link that goes with that so that and then bring it all together and make sense. So what we're doing, we're reducing our expenditure on salaries and benefits for that.
Do you mind?
Okay, so by having that segment of our employees hired through the ESC, the idea, of course, was the savings that we can achieve by doing that. So while we have a reduction in the salaries and the benefits, what you will see is under the instructional services, there's a cost for the MRESC to have those employees. But if you look down at the bottom of the note in the blue section, that the net savings between all that is just over $360,000. If you go down, we're having the conversations. Now this one is not, I don't have this in here because it's set in stone. We obviously have to sit down with the custodians, to go through negotiations and those types of things where we've had discussions that there's a net number we need to get to. So whether it's through negotiations or we look at it as an outsourced service. If it is an outsourced service, the savings on salaries is just over $790,000. Then you have the corresponding savings on retirements and benefits. Again, if it's an outsourced service, it now becomes a purchase service, and you can see that under under garbage removal and cleaning is the line item where that would fall. So it's contracted services for custodial in all buildings. That would then cost a little over $840,000, but the net savings between that is $521,000. And then we have on the schedule that we are looking to eliminate a secretary. You can see the impact of that. We are going to eliminate the 45 hours of summer help, and maintenance has agreed to reduce their days by 10 days for the whole maintenance staff, so you can see the savings there. And then the corresponding retirement and benefits. Those items outside of retirement and benefits, we are exploring creating our own online. Right now it's the Shelby County Online Learning Academy, but we're looking to bring that in-house. That in itself would save $89,000. We have found that we can, with a change in our contract with Bartech, we can pay $130,000 of that out of federal programs. We have also had the maintenance guys that really dug in and found other savings. So we found ways that we can save labor on changing of filters, lawn care fertilizer, or lawn care fertilization, spraying, and snow removal. So those are all the purchase service savings, which all the impact of that is actually, let me go back. So we save almost $3 million in salaries, 1.6 in retirement and benefits. The changes in the purchase service in that line item add $1.9 million. Within supplies, you have the maintenance people have found that if we cancel the maintenance uniforms, we have another way to do that. There's a savings there. And then the cleaning supplies that would not be needed because of contracting services out would be $144,000. But the savings in supplies is just over 156. But the net impact dollar-wise on the forecast is just over $2.8 million. That's a lot of the raw numbers type of thing. To put it in kind of a graphical perspective, the blue column is from our November forecast. We get in with the actuals for 2020, and then the 5 years in the current forecast that we submitted in November. The orange line represents the savings from the previous page. I mean, you can see in 2021, there was a small savings, and that was change we made when we reduced the number of aides in the district. And then 2022 reflects the changes that were made on the previous page. The thing that's kind of key to remember, I mean, we're a fairly big district. So each of those increments is $5 billion. So while it may not look like a significant drop from one line to the next, that little incremental line difference represents almost $3 billion. So you can see the impact it has going through the 5-year forecast. And so I wanted to relate that then to the fund balance or carryover balance. The blue line represents November's 5-year forecast. And if y'all remember, by the time we get throughout to the last one, it's showing a negative, which obviously we cannot do. But for the planning purposes, for the forecasting, if things did not change, we would have a negative carryover balance by 2025. The orange line represents the impact that we've made on that line, but the key thing is we've extended how long we have a fund balance, but we haven't changed its trajectory. With all the things we're doing, we're pushing that zero out, okay? But we still have that trajectory of it's a declining fund balance. And we've talked for a long time now that even though we will do all we can within to balance our budget, we still need that assistance from the outside. We need some new revenue source because we've not seen new state funding for at least 4 years at this point now. It was frozen these last 2 years. The 2 years prior to that, we didn't have additional state funding. So we don't have a lot of confidence in what that's going to look like going forward. And we've not asked for new operating money locally for 10 years plus at this point. So all of that's what went into the decision of placing a levy on the ballot in May, and also led us to the decision of what type and for how much. And so I have one more slide that I want to share, and it shows impact of being able to get that additional revenue source if we're successful in May. And what you can see is we have changed the trajectory of what that line does. We get it, turn it around, it stabilizes our funding. You can see that it does have a little bit of a peak and then starts to trim down. And the other thing we've talked about is that even with all we're doing and for what we're asking for, we still need to look internally and make sure we manage things well here. It gives us that opportunity to look at our operations, continue to make good choices, and that line flattens, that we don't see it begin to dip drastically like we're seeing here. Based on all things now, with where that is, if we're successful in May, I really would have to believe that we could see this sustain us for a very long period of time. Any questions? Okay. First item are the minutes, financial reports, and invoices paid. I'd like to request a motion to approve those minutes, financial reports, and invoices paid as presented.
For the motion? So, do I have a second? I mean, for the motion,
Just a few comments. Just only because we weren't able to provide these in January organization meeting because it was so early in the month. I think of note, honestly, on the revenue side is to explain why the property tax revenues at this point in time are showing that they are lagging behind the budget. The reason for that is tax collections, for one, the state, the tax bills are normal this year. They did a new county system or new tax system, whatever software. So they were a little late getting out. Then, of course, delayed the collections coming in. And if you remember, we get advances each year at the collection time, typically 2 advances and 1 final. So this was just the first advance. And so not anything to be concerned with. We will see those catch up as we go along. All the other items were well within or much better than budgeted on the expenditure side. And 3 of the 4 line items are going well, much better than budgeted. And one other one that is more than budget was in the miscellaneous, and it's only by over $7,000. So we're in a very good position, more than halfway through the year. Revenues are performing better, and expenditures are less than what we Smith,
yes.
Cross, Flanagan, Lott, Stockton.
Yep.
Motion carries. The next item is a cost sharing agreement. I'd like to request a motion to approve a cost sharing agreement with the city of Sidney for the acquisition and installation of crosswalk improvement, estimated at a cost of $23,500, allocated between the school and the city as follows: 1/3 thereof to the school, and 2/3 thereof to the city.
We have a motion. Shall I have a second? Motion and discussion.
This has actually been in discussion for a little while, and it's out there on the handle. Outside, just wait at the high school because it's not going to be the crosswalk at the corner. And we've really had a great, relationship with the city. We've got a couple projects where we've been able to share those.
Discussion, Mike, you want to call roll?
Lott, Flanagan, Cross, Smith,
Yes.
Stockton.
Yep.
Motion carries. The final item that I have, I'd like to request a motion to accept the tax rates and amounts determined by the Budget Commission to be collected in calendar year 2022 for tax year 2021, authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
We have a motion.
We do this every year at this time. Actually, it's usually in March because our board meetings are many times done before I get them. But we had a week's delay and I received them, I thought it was just move on and get them done. And no unusual changes within the rate format. Flanagan, Lott, Smith,
Yes.
Cross, Stockton.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Request a motion to approve the presented personnel items. And then we'll have a separate one under A1 with the change.
Hearing none, Mike, want to call roll? Smith,
Yes.
Meininger, Cron, Lot, Stockton. Motion carries.
And then I would ask for a motion to approve the amended administrative contract of Jason Hart.
I wanna, the reason I pulled this off here, unlike Adam Kelly, is that top teachers, top assistant principal pay, Sidney Middle School is $88,000. Bob, can you tell everybody why you give him a $5,000 raise on top of that $88,000?
This will also be doing, running food service for the district.
In this district, doing multiple jobs.
I'm not sure. We all have certain responsibilities. He's the only principal or assistant principal that will be doing a completely separate other,
But do we have any other employees in the district that do multiple jobs?
do multiple jobs.
We're giving them raises also. Yeah. We give them an extra $5,000, when I think, like most people think, $88,000 is enough.
The other way we might have to look at this, is that we cut his salary by $50,000, and he's still using his service part, and replace business part.
Or you a business manager, you still have a job. Now, if you don't like the job and the pay, there's the door right there. I mean, we're the budget crunch. We got an election in May. We're handing out money like it's water. And everybody does it.
Still cutting the salary and still sticking around, even though we're personally out of the market.
Again, not the person, not the position, it's the pay. I'm arguing about the pay, Bob. Did you not hear me when I argued about the pay? It's the pay. I said it time and time again.
I guess it's also the fact that it's like a coach. He's going to be doing, an assistant middle school principal is not going to be able to get the job done of assistant middle school principal and food service within the same amount of time that another assistant principal is going to get. So he's going to have to put in some time outside of the regular hours, much like a coach that's also getting paid additional on top of his teacher salary because he has to do things outside of the regular school day.
Understand that. Substitute age out from DSC. They all took a $5 an hour pay cut. Trying to outsource custodians. So they also take a pay cut. Yeah, we're gonna take this guy, give him a pay cut, and then give him a raise. I just think the people and taxpayers have complained time and time again about salaries. Get an opportunity here. $8,000 is a nice chunk of money. My wife took a second job at the same I was working at. She didn't know raise.
In order for the district to be competitive, we have to maintain a certain amount of salary, or we won't have anyone that will work in Sidney. They'll end up going to work for other school districts. And we'll have a constant turnover of teachers, administrators, whatever. And when we redid the salary schedules for administrators, we're not at the top, we're not at the bottom, we're in the middle. We have to decide whether we want people to come here and work and stay, or do we want those folks to come take a job for a year until they get some experience and then move on to another district, and then there's a constant turnover of employees and constant training of retraining of people.
You gotta worry about the taxpayers. More money? You're not. That's all. Anybody else? Roll call.
The other thing you want to remember too is that the food service fee is paid from food service funds, not the general fund. So it is a enterprise fund that pays for itself. So let's make sure you have a distinction that this isn't all coming out of general fund. And there really isn't, if I think back, there is no other typically employed position in our district right now that is doing what is normally two different positions that are two paid. So we just don't have it. Sure, we all have extra duties. Everybody takes on extra duties. But I'm not doing the transportation coordinator besides being treasurer. I mean, what we're asking is a very unusual arrangement that deserves consideration for what we're doing. That's my point.
I think it's 113, and he's going to 93. No, I think it is one. It is one.
Mike, roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Leininger, Lott, Trump, Scott.
No.
Motion carries.
I'm about to start to sing. Next, I need a motion to approve the 2021-2022 school calendar as presented.
Linda, second. Andy, first and second, any discussion? This is very similar.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Bring back to you. Any other discussion? Mike, you want to call roll?
Leininger, Trump, Smith,
Yes.
Lott, Scott. Motion carries.
Next, I would ask for a motion to approve the attached requirements for the following graduation seals, which will be awarded to the class of 2021 and beyond. There are student engagement, community service, and performing arts. These are the new graduation requirements for the class of 2021 that we are now under, and they have to obtain seals in order to graduate. No.
Smith,
Yes.
Trump, Lott, Leininger, Scott. Motion carries.
And my last is a motion to approve an overnight trip for the cheer team to Sandusky, Ohio, on March 26th through the 28th for competition, with the travel and competition expenses all paid for by the parents and through fundraising.
Linda, second. Andy, any discussion? This has no house.
Correct.
Leininger, Trump, Lott, Smith,
Yes.
Scott. Motion carries.
Yeah. Okay. With the start of the new session, there's been a lot of legislation submitted. I am just going to hit the high notes. So House Bill 1 was presented to the House Finance Committee. This bill is similar to House Bill 305, the Patterson School Funding Overhaul, and is an attempt to address the Royal Supreme Court case from 1977, which still hasn't been addressed, which states the way Ohio funds public education is unconstitutional and, quote, fails to provide for a thorough and efficient system of common schools, unquote, as required by the Ohio Constitution. This bill is currently sitting in the Ohio or the House Finance Committee. House Bill 2, in regards to broadband expansion, is an attempt to establish a solid framework to begin to address the broadband plus Ohio households. It passed the House 91-5. However, there is also Senate Bill 8, which covers the same area, and it recently passed unanimously through the Senate. So we're going to see how those two come together and get reconciled. House Bill 40, it's legislation to waive state testing requirements for the 2020-2021 school year. This bill also requires the Ohio Department of Education to seek a federal waiver from testing, as well as provide exemptions from state report cards. And there's a note on this one. There's also House Bill 67, which covers the same areas. Senate Bill 1. This is a bill which would require students who enter the 9th grade for the first time on or after July 1st, 2021, to take 1/2 unit of instruction in the study of financial literacy. And this is currently sitting in the Senate Primary and Secondary Committee. Senate Bill 37, legislation to change education law for 2020-2021 school year to provide school districts flexibility with graduation requirements and assessments during the COVID-19 pandemic. This one is also currently sitting in the Senate Primary and Secondary Education Committee. And then I have a couple of notes from the governor. The Governor Blind signed an executive order on January 22nd and partially restored funding cuts made to K-12 education for fiscal year 2021. And Governor Blind has released his 4-week schedule for K-12 school vaccinations, and this is prepared. I'm guessing we'll go through that now. And that's the end of the report.
Thank you, Bob. Jill?
Maria Brewer, offices of legislation liaison, Jason Halter, superintendent, presented this report. He reported that over 50% of the staff has been COVID vaccine at this cost. More information will be coming in the legislation. Mr. Halter explained that the Senate Bill 89 will be effective February 26th. This bill contains over a dozen meaningful changes to Ohio's education law, including several that impact the career technical education. Mr. Hawks mentioned that the Ohio Department of Commerce has selected the Upper Career Center as the state spotlight career technical school for institutional course and engineering day. 3 engineering students from Pickwick, Florida, and Fort Lauderdale will be featured on this state initiative to focus on a growing movement to inspire young girls to consider the field of engineering. Board approved all the work in organizational business, required, and Mr. Fraley assisted with the financial report. Our Valley Creek Center had a clean audit with only less than 2 days. Finally, the board approved donations to permanent residents, president, salary and officer.
Thank you, Michelle. Motion to go to executive session. No action will be taken afterwards. Your motion to adjourn to the executive session. The purpose of. Employment of personnel. Any discussion? Not, Mike, you want to call the roll? Crawl.
Yes.
Manager. Smith.
Yes.
Lot. Stockner.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Come back up and I think that. I think it's the one that's going to
sound system is going out.
And then there.